Sophia, and another question we received from Mrs. Connolly's first grade class was, how many phones are in the world? I love this question, and it's fun to note that there are actually more phones in the world than there are humans. If you're just talking about mobile phones, however, handheld devices, there are approximately 4.88 billion people who own a mobile phone. And if you think about the human population in the world, that's just over 63% of the world's population. What I think is particularly cool about the statistic, however, is the opportunities it presents for technology developers like myself. I'm an infectious disease scientist, and technology is a very important part of our job. If you think about diagnostic development, where I work, which is where we design and evaluate technologies for disease detection, if you were to come into one of our clinics, say with a cough and a fever, we would first test you to see if you had a common disease like the flu or even these days COVID. Given that so many people in the world already have a mobile phone at hand, we try to focus on technologies that actually sync with their own phones or the doctor's phones so that we can generate and even transmit a result so that patients can be diagnosed more quickly and receive treatment more rapidly. I think that a good question to leave this discussion with would be, what other scientific fields could benefit from the fact that so many people in the world have telephones? This has become a huge part of science, and harnessing that power where everyone has something at hand that can be used for scientific aims can be quite powerful. So another area you can think about is data mining. We have all these apps right now that people can download to look at the world around them. There's bird watching apps even where people can note where they see birds in the wild, and that's allowed us to really study the ranges of different birds. The same is true for insects. It helps scientists focus their efforts to see where things might be more common, what times a year we may see certain wildlife. And it's fascinating that that we're almost crowdsourcing science to a point. So I would encourage you to think about this more, think about other uses that can be used for mobile phones in science, and also it's kind of cool to think that you are empowered, with a mobile device to pursue scientific pursuits yourself. So thank you. Have a good day.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben. I'm a scientist and a researcher at San Diego State. And I was asked to answer a question from Camilla, which was, I want to learn about stars and what they're made of. Well, Camilla, me too. And that's a question that so many people around the world are curious about. Every time you look up at the night sky and see stars, all of them are our sun. They're the exact same thing. Some are bigger, some of them are smaller. And specifically what they are is they're gas that is compressed down and compressed down, compressed down and compressed down and compressed down and compressed down. And it gets so small that it releases a ton of energy. And when that happens, you can have two atoms of hydrogen that are fused together. Normally in a gas, all these atoms are floating around gingerly, right? But when you get this big ball and you push them in, and things get tighter and tighter and tighter, you're pushing those atoms together, and they get squeezed in together until they fuse. They literally get melded together. And when that happens, it releases a ton of energy. And so as it releases more energy, it makes more and more of those atoms combine, and then they release energy. So all of a sudden you have this super hot core, and it releases all of this energy that comes out. But then there's a very interesting phenomenon that occurs where these planets have their own orbit, right? Their own gravitational pull. So they're constantly pulling things in, and that's constantly crushing those atoms together. But if it started getting too big, then those atoms aren't being crushed anymore and it starts to fade. But the internal pressure of it hitting these atoms causes it to expand out, right? And gravity causes it to shrink in. So a star is actually having these two forces on it at once. And that nice little balance is what creates a sun. And as suns get bigger and bigger, they create more and more elements. So elements like iron and other big heavy metals are all generated inside a sun. Every single atom in the universe was once generated inside a sun. And when suns die, they explode and release all of those elements. And then there's all kinds of processes that cause them to form up into the structures we see today. But you and all of your friends and all of your family and your teacher all come from stars. Those elements are always recycled. They're never destroyed. So all of us come from stars, and that star dust is what creates planets and creates life around us. And that was just a very small taste of what stars are. There's so many more amazing questions to be answered, and you should all keep looking up to the stars and keep wondering what's in them. Thanks again. My name is Ben, and I hope you all have a great day.